Hey guys, welcome back to our Crit Primer. I am your host Derek. Um, I'm new to Warhammer, very new. As you can probably see behind me, I have a lot of graphic novels, a lot of books. I'm a big time fan of comics, Marvel, DC, because some of the politics that Marvel has gone with, and also what has happened with Star Wars, I decided to branch out elsewhere. I decided to look into another lore, something I'd never done before, and I was going to jump both feet in because I love Transformers, and I love a lot of those characters, and I'm not being real happy with the quality that I was seeing coming out of Hasbro. So I went third party. Transformer fans can tell you what third party is where you get a company that is literally pirating the characters that Hasbro owns, and they're making better toys. And so I started going down that road, and but I was really missing the camaraderie with people and fans. So January of this year, 2024, I decided I'm going to branch out. I'm going to try something I've never done before. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a lore that I don't know anything about. Nothing. Zilch. Zero. And I'm going to buy the novels. I'm going to go back and found my local game store. And he had a couple of these books for $5. And I bought this one. I ended up buying this book here for the fact that the whole entire thing is teaching me the lore of Warhammer, because I am completely new to the concept or anything. And my wife has played role-playing games and board games and stuff like this, so I was thinking, what could I and my wife both be able to jump into as newbies and, you know, kind of watch a lot of the different channels. Watch a lot of, sorry, my cat Revan's decided he saw me doing a video and I have books in my hands. This is Revan. He's actually named after a character in Star Wars, which is from the Knights of the Old Republic, where I actually had artwork in issue 19, the comic book series, and I designed a Wookiee. They got published before Disney bought, and I was the unlicensed Lucas artist to ever have anything published in their comic books or their books, and I was very privileged of that, and very, and it got me into publishing. It got me becoming an independent publisher, and, putting out my own books and other people's books and working with some of the greatest people in the business. Sorry, his claws. I gotta clip them soon. Excuse me. And so, from there, I definitely didn't like what was happening to the Star Wars lore that I not only was a part of, but grew up on. And so I've always enjoyed space and the exploration and all that stuff. And I said, you know what? There's got to be something still out there that even an old timer like me can buy, start, get into. So the first thing I did was I bought the older books. Because I asked a lot of people, and they were like, yeah, if you want to know the lore of Warhammer, you got to buy the codex. You got to get the codex. So as I was learning more and more, I got this codex, the Space Marines, for $5. And I was like, okay, all right. And then I came across, because I'm a big X-Men fan, And Anything and Everything X-Men is what I used to have. I had almost every issue that came out of the X-Men from the Stan Lee run all the way up to before Chris Claremont left the X-Men. I had every issue. And we're talking about all the way back to #1, the whole 9 yards. And I had the privilege of meeting Stan Lee and getting to talk to him and talk to him about the X-Men. But his biggest passion was the Fantastic Four. So I know that he can't be too happy with seeing that the Silver Surfer is now a female, where that was never the case with him and Kubert idea, the Fantastic Four. I mean, they drew the Fantastic Four all the way up to 100, was the longest running comic book in Marvel till Ultimate Spider-Man was written and drawn by Mark Bigley and Brian Michael Bendis, and they did all the way to issue 104 so that they could actually say they beat the original guys. And so with that, knowing how much they have changed, Marvel has been changed since Disney has purchased them. I learned quickly that this all-inclusiveness was not all-inclusive. This all-inclusiveness excluded people like me. It excluded the guys that this younger generation is now enjoying, that the devoted fans that kept those things alive and kept them going. And even through bankruptcy, which happened with Marvel, where they were selling stocks in the back of their comic books, where if you want to see Don't Let Marvel Fail, and you know, as a kid, you could buy a stock for the price of a comic book, which was like under $1. I mean, I remember when comic books were 35 cents. I do. I remember going to a newsstand and getting a comic book for 35 cents off the stand, right there. And not ever thinking they're going to be worth anything. Sorry, Revan. Not going to be worth anything. And, you know, just letting them all beat around in your toy room and stuff like that. And so, when I saw that this movement of all-inclusiveness excluded the pioneer fan base that makes your product and loves your product and loves being able to be able to keep it around for the next generation, so that next generation will love and enjoy it as much as you do. To see fans being excluded. Can you do me a favor? Can you hand that fan that way? It turned this way when Revan jumped down. Thank you. Sorry. My wife's in the background. It's late. And so I know the importance of getting into the lore, jumping with both feet in, and immersing yourself within that universe. So much so, you're embedded and indebted to the characters. Mara Jade, one of my favorite characters. You know, through the Shadows of the Empire. Story arc. Being thrown out. Taking away Luke Skywalker's wife and his child. Throwing it out the door. Like it never happened. Having Jenna and Jason Solos just being taken out of canon and thrown away. Still keeping Ben as a name that truly Leia had no ties to at all. Period. None. She was never on the same planet. It wasn't until the new retcon that Leia as an infant has any type of actions with Luke, and I find it interesting they chose it to be Leia and not an early version of Luke that was on Disney Plus. And just throwing it out the door. Throwing out the door everything that made Star Wars great. And having a video where I asked a question about female custodians. What's the big deal? And a lot of you answered my question with passion and love, as much as I could expect from any fan. From any fan that loves their genre so much and have passion for it that they spent thousands of dollars of their hard-earned working money to make this thing last. To now have all of your feelings and all of your investment thrown out the door. To the point where I picked up this before all this stuff started taking place. Again, to understand the lore. I understand where y'all are coming from. It has nothing to do with the fact that there is a female custodian. It's the fact that throwing away everything that was prior. Great storytelling, I was told, by the guy that drew Dennis the Menace. Sat there when I was doing my comic strips and stuff. He said the most important thing is when you have something that the audience can get behind and love. You stay true to it no matter what. That it's no longer your creation, it's your baby. But you want your baby to be loved and nurtured by everyone. But as you as the creator, the true creator of the content, you have to be true to the fans that have invested their time. They're much as important as anyone else. And I think that good storytelling also is where you can take what is established already and you can add to it. Had a conversation within the message board about a guy that was talking about, well, the X-Men meant humans, and it didn't. It meant Xavier's men. Jean Grey was honestly, even though she had power, she was more of a nuisance or someone that was a lady in distress. The only reason why her character existed is for the X-Men to go save her. She was essentially not a really big, powerhouse till Chris Claremont and John Burns came onto the book. And when that happened, it became everyone's. And you had the cartoon come out, and it made the X Gene. It made it the X Gene, X Factor. The comic book came out by Peter David. And it was no longer Xavier's men. It was that you could be born with an extra X in your DNA, and you were now a mutant. And then anyone could be a mutant. Anyone. Everyone could be included. Everyone could be a mutant. Good storytelling is where you could have sit there and said, due to all the wars for these 10,000 years, and we're been constantly fighting, and the outskirts are more enemies coming, that with the custodies, that not all the humans that live on Earth are producing male children. So we will now have them be a part of, we'll now take daughters, because our males are not, the family's not producing males as much. And that would have made sense. And I guarantee you the fan base would not be up in up arms about that at all, if it was a thought out and not a planned attack against masculinity. They don't want to have an alpha male. They want to have a beta male. I've been surprised for years now that Wolverine hasn't been declawed. For a while there, they took away that he couldn't smoke a cigar, because that was putting off a bad vibe, they would say. I understand where you're coming from. I'm still going to get into this, because the people I've already met, you as the viewers that have been watching my videos on my adventure into Warhammer, I as a new fan want to be in the trenches with you. I think that we need to be like them. The more I read this book, they don't have a face. Their face is always covered. But yeah, they don't mind how many bodies they have to throw at the enemy to beat the enemy. And that's what we as fans need to do. As much of us, whether we're new or old, be true to the Lord. Throw as much of it as you can at them. That's the only way to win. They may have the money now, but we can have the voice now. Like you can always say, for the Emperor, don't let chaos rule. Because right now, what I've been reading, and the Horus Heresy, and the Rip, and the Warp, and Chaos, and the Chaos Gods came out and trying to corrupt everything that it touches. Kind of looks like what I'm seeing right now happening within the Warhammer community. And in all honesty, maybe you and me and our little voices can stand up against it. Take care, guys.